Doesn't matter what computer or what laptop to use for your high ticket dropshipping business or your dropshipping business. So this is a question I've seen or just done some research and found that, hey, it gets views. So here I am making a video on it. So does it really matter what computer it takes to start a business? No, absolutely it does not. So if that answers your question, then skip the rest of this video or just hop off this video. But if you want a more in-depth video and we kind of go into some more fun like Apple versus PCs type of stuff, stay to the end of this video. So first of all, if you don't have any computer of any sorts, you just have a phone, just probably some sort of means to watch this video on, then what I recommend is just using a library near you and just renting or just using the computer for a few hours each day. I think that's really like a secret way or a lesser known way to use technology completely for free. You go into libraries, there's no cost, there shouldn't be any cost. And you can use a computer pass or something like that for 1 or 2 hours at a time. And if you need to go every single day, don't feel ashamed, because like when I was early on in my journey, not in the business journey, but when I was like working every day at a restaurant, like I would have no chance to. I didn't have a phone or anything. I didn't have a computer with me, so I went to a library and just did my stuff, watched some YouTube videos and all that stuff. But besides the point, use the library, use the free computer. But now let's talk about like, hey, where should you buy a computer if you don't have any means of oh cool, there's actually an Apple event tomorrow. So actually there is. So if you need a computer, I recommend, if you're going to buy Apple computer, using Back Market, and I bought some of my tech from here. So the reason why I recommend this is the tech is refurbished. You get a better deal than Apple's refurbished website, and they have good support. So what laptop or what computer do you use or should you use? So if you're on the PC side, which I'm not too much familiar with the PC stuff in terms of brands, but in terms of specs, you just want to find something under, I would say, $800 to $1,000. You could probably look at some reviews on YouTube, but it seems like, for example, this $1,250, it might be too much money if this is a big expense for you. But in terms of like what you want to look for, is just like, hey, what is a processor? i7 13700HX. This is pretty much overkill. RTX 4060, actually that's pretty good value, and it's 16 gigs of RAM. For you guys that are running a business, I recommend having at least 16 gigs of RAM and an SSD or NVMe storage, and everything else doesn't really matter too much because you'll be essentially just using Chrome. So that's on the PC side. Doesn't have to be anything crazy. Obviously, you can waste all your time, because I was in the same position, just looking for different computers. Hey, this screen is better, this screen is better, this has more RAM, this has better features. Because there's so many computers on the PC side, you can get overwhelmed, and I just recommend picking one that has a lot of RAM, a lot of SS or just an SSD, and then everything else doesn't really matter too much. A good screen is okay, and a good keyboard is that. So that's on the PC side. Now on the Apple side, which is what I'm on Team Apple. I used to be on Team PC, but now I am on Team Apple. So on Team Apple, let's look at the Macs. So yes, you can buy an iPad and do work, but it's very inconvenient. So don't recommend that. I've tried that. Don't recommend it. So Macs. So MacBook Air, MacBook Pro, iMac, Mac Mini, Mac Studio, Mac Pro. Lots of Macs. So which one should you pick? So if you like to work all over the place, maybe like you want a computer to take away with you, laptop hands down. If you're on a budget, MacBook Air. If you don't, not so much on a budget, MacBook Pro is amazing computer. Should last you 10 plus years at this point. But if you are a desktop person, which you are able to sit down and do your work, then I recommend a Mac Mini or an iMac. I would just go with the iMac because it's just all in one. You don't have to look for a monitor. You don't have to look for a keyboard, mouse, and all that stuff. I used to have an iMac, but the reason why I sold it and got a Mac Studio is because there was only like 16 gigs of RAM max. And as a person that works on online business, eventually you'll find that, hey, you want more RAM so you can keep your hundreds and not thousands of Chrome tabs open. So that's the reason why I have a Mac Studio now. It's just overkill. You by all means could get by using iMac, but treat yourself sometimes when you do make profits in your business. So on the Apple side, picking a computer, if you're going to go for a MacBook, go for a MacBook Air if you're on a budget. In terms of which ones you should pick one that is MacBook Air M1 16GB RAM. So this way, like if we look at Bat Market, this one is only $619. You get an M1 chip, which if you don't know anything about computers, the M1 chips are very fast, a lot faster than the Intel ones, which was the older generation of chips. You get SSD and you get 16 gigs of RAM. This is like a benchmark that you want to at least start at. The only point of like getting a MacBook Pro is for the better screen and the bigger size computer. But you're fine with a smaller screen. The performance is more than enough in this little package, the MacBook Air. I used to have this. I gave this to my younger brother after I got a MacBook Pro. So MacBook Air more than sufficient if you are on a budget. $619. Fair. Condition really does not matter. You may as well save money with a refurbished computer. Now, if you're a little more ballsy and you want a little bit better of a computer, then I recommend MacBook Pro M1 Pro and either the 14 or 16 inch. Now, I have the 16 inch and it's yes a little bit more expensive, but you get a bigger screen. And if you want the 14 inch, which is a little bit better for traveling, but if you're in the beginning in building your business, you don't probably care too much about traveling. So it's up to you. 14 or 16 inch MacBook Pros, they start at $1,200. You get the similar specs, but you just get the bigger screen. That's really the main thing, or the better screen quality. Then if you want a desktop, then I recommend the Mac Mini, and you just really want the 16 gigs of RAM and an M1 chip. And in terms of which one to pick, I would look for one on Back Market. This is, let's see, M1 256, $733. This is a desktop. You need a monitor, a keyboard, mouse, so you can use this. So you need to factor in those expenses. If you don't want to think about that, then the Mac or iMac 16GB M1 is a good deal at Back Market. So Back Market is your best friend for this, like 16 gigs of RAM for $1,200. So this is a good desktop because you get the screen, which is really high quality. You get a keyboard and you get a mouse, everything you need to use a computer, essentially. So those are the computer lineups I recommend on Team Apple or Team PC. This is actually a decent PC for the value. For $1,200, you get similar specs to this, to the MacBook Pro, and both are both of them are pretty fast. Just one is if you have an iPhone, the Mac makes more sense. If you don't have an iPhone and you have Android, then I mean either one works, but you probably would choose a PC because you don't like Apple. So that's really it. Apple versus PC. Does it really matter which one you pick for your business? No. Buy one. If you don't have one, use a library computer. If you can't get access to one, borrow one from a friend, even if you need to. Do whatever it takes to start your dropshipping business. There shouldn't really be that much to think about. Buy one, get one set up. And that's it for this video. I'll see you guys in the next one.